Works Edition time. We are here at Fox Raceway getting ready to shake down the new Honda CRF black plates. It's a CRF250 Works Edition. That's right, for the first time since Honda introduced their Works Edition 450 in 2019, they've now introduced a CRF250 Works Edition. We got our stock bike here today and we're gonna compare them both back to back. So the big changes for this model, it's just like the 450. It does have the polished cylinder head to open up the engine a little bit, spark some more throttle response, and hopefully improve horsepower as well. To match that, has ECU settings and a full Yoshimura RS-12 exhaust system on here. Excited to see how this power works on the track. One difference from the 450 though, it does not have the Hinson clutch basket and it doesn't have the Hinson clutch cover. Like the 450, the CRF250 Works Edition comes with the coated fork legs, show us suspension on here, also unique settings for this model. And the shock is upgraded as well. The Showa rear shock has an 18 mil shock shaft that is titanium oxide coated to improve stiction in the rear and give you a little more hold up on the rear end as well. Other cool bits about the CRF250 Works Edition, it comes with Dunlop tires with a 110 rear instead of the Pirelli tires which come on the stock model. Of course, you got a gold chain, you got a sick twin air filter in here, and of course the big change is the hydro clutch system on the CRF250. Now the 450 comes stock with a hydro clutch, CRF250 stock with a cable clutch, but the Works Edition gets the hydro setup. For $10,599, you can enjoy the CRF250 Works Edition. It does come with a Throttle Jockey gripper seat cover. It's got some pretty sick adjustable by hand compression clickers up here on the forks. The triple clamps and the fork lugs are all coated black, as well as the shock adjuster has got some sweet coatings on it, as well as the cylinder head. It's got a metallic red color, pretty sick on the CRF250 Works Edition. I've been riding a lot of new bikes lately. It's new bike season. We've been busy with shootouts, testing all the 250 models, getting ready for our 250 shootout. I can't believe how much fun I'm having on this CRF250 Works Edition. This thing is so sick. Probably the most fun I've had on the first lap in a long time. The track's awesome today, public day, so it's Monday. Got good ruts, good moisture in the dirt, and that makes it extra fun, and I can extra appreciate the engine characteristics of the new CRF250 Works Edition.
First impressions, right off the bat, I noticed the clutch. I'm a clutch guy. The clutch is so much better on the Works Edition with the hydraulic. Fork position, the fork's a little stiffer, it doesn't dive as much, so my entrance to the turns are smoother, so I have less mistakes. Overall, they definitely made that bike fun to ride, being a heavier rider. Mistakes happen on the 250, and recovery is easy on that bike.
Dennis, is it worth the extra $2,300? This thing retails for $1,059.
For sure. I mean, just by the time you buy a muffler, and if you're an average Joe and you had to go get a map done, that's another vortex ignition. They already updated the map on this. The hydraulic clutch is definitely worth it. You get coated fork tubes with hand adjusting compression knobs on the fork, gold chain. Yeah, I would definitely say the money's worth it.
It's way faster than the stock 250. The engine's a lot more roll-on, feels more free feeling. And yeah, it's much better. The rev limiter seems much higher, or maybe non-existent. Well, I know it's there somewhere, but the stock CRF250 comes in much sooner, and this Works Edition just keeps climbing right on up. It's very noticeable difference, yes.
Yeah. So the talk of the town with the new 2025 Hondas has been going stiffer to go softer. Their tagline for 2025 is actually that they made the frame stiffer now, and it actually makes the bike handle better on the track. So previously, the 21 through 24 chassis, and the frames were a little bit too soft apparently, and that actually made it feel harsh and stiff on the track. So Honda for 2025 reinforced their frame, changed up the geometry a little bit of the subframe, and by doing that, obviously they also worked on suspension settings. It's got a new front axle, all to make the bike handle better on the track, be a little more predictable, but actually be a little bit softer in the bumps. So we already like the chassis on the Honda CRF450. That bike finished second in our 450 shootout, jumped way up in the rankings. Our CRF250, we've liked that model as well, but the engine has been a question mark on that one. Only 41.5 horsepower on the dyno, 19 foot-pounds of torque. So the Honda CRF250 engine has some room to grow. And when you compare it to the KTM, the Yamaha, and the Kawasaki engines, it's definitely down on horsepower, where KTM is up in that 45 horsepower range. Kawasaki was up in that 45 horsepower range last year. Hopping on this Works Edition model, I was pleasantly surprised with how this engine worked on the track. So today was day one on the Works Edition 250 model. We haven't got it on the dyno and we haven't looked inside this engine, but we have had CRF 450 Works Editions in the past, and we have opened up the cylinder to see exactly what they did. The tagline and the promotional items tell us that they hand polished the ports, the intake and then the exhaust ports on the CRF 250 Works Edition cylinder head, and that's just to improve airflow going in and out of the engine. Of course, it does have the Yoshimura exhaust system, which we love on this bike, and it also has updated ECU settings to work with that. And then putting power to the ground is that hydraulic clutch. Hydraulic actuation worked amazing today. I loved how smooth and easy it was. Much better than the CRF 450 actually. The 450 is quite a bit stiffer, not as good a feel for me, especially compared to KTM and the Brembo clutch that comes on that one. But this Nissin hydraulic clutch actuation on the CRF 250 Works Edition was incredible today. I loved how that felt. As for the engine, like I said, we haven't seen exactly how much they've done inside, but feeling on the track, you could tell they worked on it. It's much, much stronger than the stock model. We went back to back with stock bike and the Works Edition, and it blew all of our test riders' socks off today. I rode it, Dennis Stapleton, Josh Fowl, Brian Medeiros, Sean Bushnell, all of us loved this engine. It was light years ahead of the stock model. One thing that we have to commend Honda with is answering the questions and doing exactly what the consumer is going to do. When a consumer buys a stock Honda CRF250, you're going to want to upgrade the grips. Yes, these have Renthal Kevlar grips, so they're super durable, a little bit wider than stock, and feel pretty comfortable on the track. We appreciate these adjustable by hand compression clickers, but we really appreciate the extra upgrades they do to the engine, like we've already mentioned, and as well as the suspension, doing all the coatings, going up from the 16 to the 18 mil shock shaft, and coating the shock as well. So Honda really went over and above on their Works Edition model. It's not just a slip-on muffler, it's the full header and muffler, as well as the Throttle Jockey seat cover. So Honda, they take it seriously. When they make an off-road model, they go all out. They got the big tank, they got the softer suspension, they got the chain, they got the 18-inch rear wheel. They don't just throw a kickstand on and call it an off-road model. So we appreciate the Honda really spreads their wings. Each model that they make is very different from the other one, and we had a ton of fun on this Works Edition today. So of course, we had to have Dennis ride the bike as well today, but talking with the Honda team here today, they were also bragging about these LT-X rims, the D.I.D rims. These are quite a bit stronger than what comes on the stock model. So lots of upgrades on this bike, the gold chain, lots of upgrades. They really didn't hold back on this new model. I had a ton of fun on it. Jumping on this fresh Works Edition, what was it like for you?
Yeah, I mean, right off the bat, I'm not always on the 250F, so I was making mistakes, and it was hard to ride the ruts without making mistakes this morning. As I improved through the day, I got better, but as soon as I jumped on this, it was like, whoa, I'm making my marks a little better. Overall, just way easier to minimize mistakes on this bike for me, for my size and my weight.
What about the price difference? So the stock model, $8,299. Works Edition, $10,599. So that's a $2,300 upcharge. But to me, this felt like a factory, not a factory bike, but like a full-on race bike. It felt like a mod bike when I was riding it. Do you think it's worth the upgrades for the rims, for the cylinder, little hand polishing they do inside the cylinder head, the ECU, the exhaust settings? Like, do you think it's worth the extra $2,000?
I definitely do. If you bought a brand new bike and you wanted to take time to coat the suspension, it's got to be shipped out. Yeah. You wanted the 18 mil shock shaft that Honda does sell, you got to order that and you got to have someone put it in, unless you're mechanically inclined to do it yourself. Yeah. You'd have to lace up wheels, you got to buy a gold chain, seat cover with ribs already built into it.
And the hydro clutch.
Hydro clutch is a big one, right? Even the grips, we complain about the stock grips. This has the Kevlar Renthal grips, which is an improvement.
So overall, worth it.
Overall, definitely worth it. It's something that you could pretty much take home, grease the linkage, grease the headset, you're ready to go. other than taking it out, going to a suspension guy, taking it to buy a Vortex box. It's already mapped. It's already that much farther ahead instead of just spinning your circles. Unless you have an individual plan to build your own bike, this is definitely worth the money.
So of course we should also mention that we did have an awesome track here today. Ruts were great. The track did get some bumps. It was pretty rough. It wasn't privately rented, which is a pro for us. We got to ride our other bikes, our CRF250 stock model, our YZ250F, our KTM 250 SXF. So our other guys were shaking down all of those bikes. They got to hop on this one. I got to shake down those bikes and hop on this one. We're getting closer to our 250 shootout, so make sure you subscribe to the MXA YouTube channel. Click the bell button to get notified when we release new videos. And I hope this video doesn't sound too excited, but man, we had a lot of fun on this thing today. So even the cylinder head's got a sweet little metallic red. You got the CRF250 Works Edition engraved in there. Dennis Stapleton, you can follow him at StapoMX on Instagram. Good times. I did catch my leg on the shroud.
Up here?
I caught my leg up here on the shroud. We're adding this in the end screen. Caught my leg on the shroud, but I got long legs and there's some deep ruts today.
I decided to kick the dirt, which brought my knees up into my body, which made my face bounce off the handlebars, doing some Renthal crossbar testing.